The company had been public for just 2 years when Lillian asked me for a divorce. She wanted to legitimize her relationship with Daniel. Maybe to stop people from gossiping about the guy who graduated from abroad, worked through nights with her, and helped the company hit new heights. She said she was sorry but felt we were out of love and shouldn't keep torturing each other. I didn't want to let go, whether it was for our 10 years together or for our daughter. It wasn't until our daughter's birthday, when she hurriedly left after getting a call from Daniel, that we got into a car accident. When I woke up, I signed the divorce papers because I had lost my memory, reverting to when I first knew her. When Lillian showed up in my VIP room, I was learning to use a smartphone with help from the nurse. The accident had sent my memories back a decade. Back then, I was just a college kid. Young, lively, full of energy. After the nurse patiently showed me how things worked, I ordered a McDonald's meal and praised it with a thumbs up. "This is awesome, like being in a future world." That's when Lillian walked in and frowned, asking, "Mark, what kind of act are you putting on now?" I glanced up, seeing a woman who was beautiful and radiant but had an air of impatience about her. She seemed like a tough businesswoman. Her demeanor was irritating. Annoyed, I snapped back, "And you are? Know that it's rude to yell at strangers." She froze, apparently not expecting me to talk like that. The nurse awkwardly explained that this woman was my wife. But how could that be? I was a handsome, charming, sunny kid, and suddenly, after an accident, I'm someone's husband? The kicker was, in the designer briefcase I was brought into the hospital with, there was a divorce agreement. Lillian consulted my doctor, who was renowned internationally, so there was no chance of collusion. He confirmed my amnesia. Back in my room, Lillian sat across from me and watched silently as I devoured my burger and fries. Licking ketchup off my fingers, I warily asked her, "Are you scamming me into marriage? I can't imagine I'd choose to marry someone like you." Lillian watched me, momentarily lost, like she'd never seen a college boy enjoying a meal. "Why?" Her voice was cool and steady. "First, I don't like overbearing women. You seem hard to deal with and have no basic respect for people, let alone your husband." Saying husband gave me an unexpected twinge of embarrassment. Second, I overheard gossip that a woman caused her husband and daughter to crash because she rushed off to celebrate an anniversary with her lover. I joined in with the criticism before realizing I was that poor husband. Lillian's lips tightened, revealing no emotion. "You really think that?" "Of course. I thought I'd marry someone like Jasmine." Jasmine was the debate team captain, beautiful, competent, and strong. Mentioning another woman made Lillian's face darken. Besides my memory loss, my leg suffered a minor fracture. No big deal, I could still make it to the civil office in a wheelchair. I cheerfully took out the divorce paperwork, cleared my throat, and said, "Lillian, you obviously don't care about me. You must be anxious to get divorced. But there's one condition." Lillian's expression relaxed slightly, and she said patiently, "Go on. The agreement says I get the house in the city center and $10 million in cash, and you want the option to buy my 15% of company shares at market price. Fine by me. But I don't want custody of our daughter." Lillian's eyes sharpened, and her voice turned icy. "Don't forget, custody and shares were the things you poured your energy into refusing to let go." Stretching, I nonchalantly replied, "I don't know how I ended up a resentful husband, but my memories are from my freshman year. I'm eager for the new world. Plus, I can barely take care of myself, let alone be a dad." Lillian almost laughed in exasperation. "Mark, if Koko knew you treated her this way, she'd cry again. Who cries more remains to be seen," I said, full of arrogance, recalling the time when Mark would rush into her arms for kisses, the time she loved him the most. Back then, I wasn't the annoying husband obsessed with our daughter and constantly checking in. Lillian tore up the signed divorce agreement, saying she'd draft a new one. I ignored her and switched on the TV. I didn't want to wake up as someone outdated, a relic of a past era. Unexpectedly, Lillian returned dragging a 5-year-old girl behind her. "Daddy!" she cried desperately, her little hair buns bouncing as she ran to me, tears brimming in her eyes. Even forewarned, a part of me struggled to accept it. What teenager becomes a dad so easily? I awkwardly smiled at the girl. You're Koko? Daddy, you really don't remember me? She sniffled, and I sighed helplessly, leading to more tears from her. Lillian didn't take her eyes off my face, as if checking to see if I was just acting. To her, our bond was supposed to transcend memory loss. Everyone else could be forgotten, but not the child I nearly died for. On the day Koko was born, I was with Lillian helping her with clients. She was in a tough spot, forced to drink, almost taken advantage of. I fought, got stabbed, and went into shock. That trauma made Lillian go into early labor. When I woke up, doctors said my injuries that night meant I'd have lasting health issues. Koko's custody became Lillian's bargaining chip. She agreed to give me custody if I ceded company shares. Now I want nothing, but here she was, presenting Koko. Why? Was it to get her out of the way for her boyfriend? I really enjoy spending time with Koko. She's such a good kid, even feeding me apple slices the caregiver cut up. She says I've become more fun, not as gloomy as before, always wearing a frown. I'm a bit curious. How did the sunny kid fall? Koko, what was Dad like before? Her tiny hand cups my face. Dad was good to me back then too, but he always sighed in his study and rarely smiled at Mom. Well, when you catch your partner cheating, even a saint can't smile through that. But Lillian's moved on. Why can't I let it go? People are complicated, I guess. The person I was 10 years ago couldn't see who I'd be today. Lillian drove her Bentley to pick Koko and me up. She won't sign the divorce papers. Says she's worried I'd regain my memories and cause chaos. Who picks up trash things once they're thrown out? Lillian carried a sleeping Koko with one arm and my change of clothes with the other. You don't want custody, but Koko can't be without you. I hobbled behind her on crutches. When we got inside, I was taken aback. The house was just my style, cozy and comfortable. But it was 300 square meters. Imagine the prices near downtown. Lillian watched my reaction closely, a barely there smile on her lips. I felt thirsty. Where's the glass? I want some water. Took Lillian a while to find one and hand it to me. I teased. Seems like you hardly come home. Huh? Not familiar at all. She looked at me quietly, with no visible emotion. But someone was showing signs of impatience. As Lillian clumsily washed Koko's hair, her phone rang. I glanced at it, curious. Who's Daniel? Should you get that? The phone kept ringing. Lillian's calm expression finally showed a crack. She spat out, "No need." I went back to the living room, tore open a bag of chips, and propped my feet on the couch to watch TV. Around 10 o'clock, the doorbell rang. A man with a black turtleneck and golden glasses showed up, looking every bit the part of an elite. Who are you? He ignored me. Where's Lillian? Putting Koko to bed. He walked in with polished shoes. Mark, why refuse to sign the divorce papers? Isn't Lillian offering enough? The company's success is all thanks to me and her. You're just a stay-at-home husband. How dare you hang on to her? I may have lost my memory, but my intelligence is intact. This must be Lillian's lover. Bold and boastful, even aggressive toward me. It's infuriating. I suddenly get why I can't let go after all this time. It's not about still wanting the woman. It's about swallowing this bitter pill. Lillian heard the commotion and appeared. Daniel switched to a polished tone. Lillian, I've been waiting. Weren't you coming back after discharging them? Seeing my amused expression, she looked uncomfortable. I'm worried he can't take care of Koko, so I'm staying tonight. Daniel sighed dramatically. But you promised you wouldn't be with him anymore. What's this soap opera twist? I shooed them. Take Koko and leave. Don't interrupt my TV drama. Daniel glared. Mark, don't think backing off will make Lillian bend. Are you nuts? I didn't say anything and you filled in the blanks yourself. Do you want the contact for my doctor? He's great. Lillian pushed him out. Go, I'll handle this. Daniel left, visibly annoyed. I sipped my Coke, couldn't help asking. By the way, why hasn't my dad visited after my accident? Lillian paused. Words eluded her. Flashes of a year ago tickled her mind, when Mark's father was on his deathbed, and I begged her to return for a final farewell. She claimed to be abroad, too far to come back. In truth, she was in Switzerland with Daniel. Mark. Her voice now held an odd mix of sympathy and regret. Goosebumps rose. It must be due to how bad things are between us. Promise to stay calm after hearing this? Dread lurked in my chest. Spit it out, don't spook me. He passed a year ago. I staggered, the glass slipping from my grip, shattering. No way. Tears blurred my vision as I desperately searched for his number. Surely relaxing in the countryside, gardening, sipping afternoon tea. The number was no longer valid. Tears poured. Like a sky with endless holes, I couldn't patch it up. Since childhood, it was just me and Dad. He defied my grandpa, loved a reckless woman, had me. It's a tough life. And now I've failed to live better. He'd be so disappointed. Lillian held me as I sobbed, wiping tears like comforting a child. Mark, don't. I pushed her away, leave. Dad worked multiple jobs to raise me. Exhausting, but he was strong. If not for your insistence on early marriage and kids, I wouldn't have lost him. He always said if I didn't behave, it'd kill him. That's not how it went. Lillian tried explaining, but her words fell flat. She pursued me in college, rushed to marry post-graduation, convinced me to have a kid for my ailing folks. In the end, she left me for another. All those forgotten fragments resurfaced alongside my guilt for Dad, crashing into Lillian's mind. I remembered my reason for refusing to divorce before I lost my memory was wanting to keep a family whole for Koko, not wanting her to grow up in fragments. Back then, Lillian scoffed. Coldly, she said, Mark, falling out of love means just that. I'll compensate you well. Don't drag the kid into this. Until now, my mind drifts back to 10 years ago. I still remember how my dad taught me, and I'm convinced that going against his advice led to this tragedy. Lillian finally realized that the deep-rooted beliefs from her family couldn't be compensated with money. When the sun came up, I woke up. Lillian took Koko to kindergarten and came back with a basket of dumplings. My heart ached for a moment. It was my dad's favorite taste. I finally calmed down and told her, let's get the divorce sorted out soon. Lillian disagreed. Your dad died from illness, it had nothing to do with you. In fact, he was quite happy with me and believed I could take good care of you. No need to blame yourself. I knew I was overthinking it. But waking up to find the person who loves you most is gone, you need an outlet. Things got tense. Lillian refused to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and started spending more time at home. Ms. Always busy, Lillian patiently picked Koko up from school and even cooked dinner. A totally different person than the one I saw when I first woke up. During dinner, I couldn't help but ask, what's gotten into you? Did you forget you had another life outside? Lillian glanced at me, put a piece of boneless fish in Koko's bowl, and calmly said, don't talk nonsense in front of the child. I smirked. As far as I remember, I didn't really badmouth her in front of our daughter. They seemed to get along just fine. Later, Koko clung to Lillian, asking for a bedtime story, and whimpered, Mom, Dad said you were too busy to be home. Are you on a break now? Will you stay with me forever? Second best in the world? Yes. I was stunned listening. When I was young, my mom left us, but my dad rarely spoke ill of her. It wasn't because he couldn't let her go. He just felt that I had already lost her presence, so he didn't want me to grow up bitter. My dad gave me twice the love, tried to meet all my needs, and competed with other moms at parent-child events. He said, anything moms can give, I'll give you. Anything dads can provide, I won't fall short. Being a single dad was just too exhausting. He didn't want me to repeat his path. Remembering my loving dad, I grabbed my laptop to look for work. Lillian had mentioned that after Koko was born, I'd quit my job. Her affair even mocked me for being a house husband with no contribution. If my dad were alive, he'd be furious. He spent so much effort and money on my education, cutting corners to get me tutors. He definitely wouldn't want me to just sit around. When Lillian put Koko to sleep, she saw me updating my resume. She frowned. You're looking for a job? I've given you enough money to live well. What about Koko if you work? Strange. Koko's in kindergarten. Why can't I work? You've always been the one taking care of Koko. What if she gets sick? There's no what if. I cut her off coldly. Then come help at the company. I'll pay you the highest salary. I chuckled in disbelief. If I remember right, isn't that guy also in the company? You want them both? Or you want to see me embarrassed? That's not what I mean. Koko's weak. If she gets sick, it's easier for you to take leave. I think you're the one who's sick, and it's serious. I logged into an old app, and a college buddy, Philip, sent a message. Mark, you're something else. Graduated and ran off to a city. Got hitched and had a kid. Ditched your old pals. Want to come back for N University's centenary? I bought a ticket without a second thought. Oddly, even though I lost a decade's memory, the city felt familiar. Philip cheered. You really lost your memory? Remember that time I embarrassed myself in the girls' bathroom? I'd forgotten, and now I'll remember for another 30 years thanks to you. Annoyed, he asked if I remembered Jasmine. That perked me up. Jasmine was famous at N University, super pretty, well-off, debate team captain, top in her major. Philip rambled on. The goddess had a thing for you, the handsome, cheerful freshman. During sophomore year, she went abroad and reconciled with her first boyfriend. Didn't come back. You were a wreck, giving Lillian her chance. Then he switched topics. Here Jasmine's running a company in a city. Have you two met? I honestly didn't recall. At N University's auditorium. Jasmine, an outstanding alum, donated $10 million to the school. She spoke eloquently on stage. I stared for ages until her sharp features matched that girl in my memories. A smile crept onto my face. Those were romantic teenage days. Lillian wasn't in my life back then. Long time no see. Jasmine approached, warm smile intact, and we took a stroll around campus. In my mind surfaced the image of a cool, composed scholar, dazzling during debate. Back then, I'd boldly cheer for Jasmine from the sidelines. I thought she might like me a little too. But then our youth slipped by. Jasmine, with a deep look, asked, Mark, you lost your memory? How'd you know? Her family was from a city she heard through the grapevine. Feeling awkward, I asked if she knew I was married with a daughter. Her voice stiffened momentarily before she softly continued. I heard you're job hunting? Yeah. Back then, I thought your talents shouldn't just fade away within a family. Especially since I got into N University as the 5th top scorer in the city. Why not give my company a go? But I've forgotten so much. No worries, I'll teach you. Returning to my alma mater didn't recover memories but did reconnect me with friends. Philip dragged me into our old dorm group chat. They joked. Mark, after getting married, you let go of so much. The former sunshine of our group had become someone new, focused entirely on Koko. In the chat group, they'd talk about promotions and raises. Meanwhile, I was busy changing my daughter's diapers, making baby food, and comforting Lillian's struggles with her startup. Then one day I left the group. Time and distance caused me to drift apart from my old friends. Listening to my roommates complain, I'd laugh at myself. Maybe someone put a spell on me back then. Jasmine sent over some materials for me to get familiar with the company. I pulled out my senior year mindset and studied hard. Luckily, the knowledge I learned isn't like trivial memories. It stays firmly rooted in my brain. I started learning how to do in-depth industry reports and studied the impact of current policies. Whenever I didn't understand something, Jasmine would help immediately, letting me use any resources I needed. She told me not to rush and that with my learning ability, I'd get great results if I just took it step by step. I quickly got into the groove and started handling significant work at the company. In contrast was Lillian's attitude. She initially scoffed, thinking it would be hard for me to make the transition, but eventually she came around. Of course, Lillian has more than one household to manage, so she can't personally take care of our daughter all the time. She hired a nanny and even interviewed a professional child-rearing specialist. Koko is quite good. She sees me working hard and doesn't fuss. She says she likes the new me more. Dad smiles a lot more now and looks even more handsome. In the past, my wardrobe was mostly casual sportswear and matching outfits with Koko. Now, since I often meet clients, I can't embarrass Jasmine too much. One day, Lillian called and harshly scolded me. Mark, you know Koko has severe allergies. How could you give her candy with sesame in it? You're such a failure as a dad, risking our daughter's life needing emergency help in the hospital. These days, I've been working overtime, often with snacks to stay awake. Thinking of the candy I hastily put in Koko's bag in the morning that indeed had sesame filling, my heart felt a tight grip. But Lillian's attitude was too harsh. I retorted out of grievance. Why are you yelling? I forgot all the foods our daughter is allergic to. You're her mom. You only mentioned she can't have egg proteins or seafood, so how would I know nuts are a problem too? Lillian paused. She was very anxious. The child specialist called saying that Koko had blotchy red spots all over and couldn't stop diarrhea, even having difficulty breathing. Lillian's first reaction was that it was my fault for not looking after our daughter properly. She forgot that initially Koko was allergic to seafood, eggs, and dairy, so her meals had to be specially prepared. I stayed home to carefully plan her nutritious meals because hiring someone wasn't reassuring. Day after day, caught up in the kitchen, preparing meals for both our daughter and my wife. It's been a long time since Lillian heard about allergies, not because Koko's immunity strengthened, but because of my silent efforts. But after the company took off so rapidly, the allure of the tempting world outside meant the warm, ordinary moments at home no longer kept her tethered. The sudden realization struck Lillian. It felt like a piece of her heart was missing, and she knew it might be lost forever. When we got to the hospital, Koko was half asleep on the bed, her long lashes wet with tears, looking so small and helpless. My nose tingled with guilt. The little girl opened her eyes, asking for a hug. Daddy! I reached out, embracing her warmth and softness. Over time, I was adapting to being a dad and accepting everything that came with this new chapter. Sweetie, I'm sorry for forgetting about your allergy to sesame. It's okay. Everything you used to make was by your hands. I just miss your snacks. When you're better, how about I make you some? Lillian stayed overnight for the first time, probably afraid I'd give our daughter the wrong things again. As I was about to leave, she followed me. The hospital corridor was quiet, the air filled with the smell of disinfectant. Lillian spoke. Mark, I'll give you 10 grand a month if would quit your job and stay to look after Koko. I looked at her like she was crazy. So what do you consider me, a nanny or nutritionist? I don't mean it like that. You could stay home and care for Koko, why not now? Because I forgot. I've risked my life to build this family and I can't anchor my future on you any longer. Leaving a gap in my resume makes finding a job tough. You want to keep me trapped for another decade, so I'd have to beg you and your affair partner? Mark, I've said I wouldn't let you be put out, don't be stubborn. People's hearts change. My phone rang, so I ignored her. Jasmine, you're at Hotel K? I'll be there soon. Anger spread across Lillian's face as she grabbed my wrist. Where are you going at this hour? What's it to you? Meeting someone? That's not happening. You can't stop me. Then I won't stay with Koko, you can. Crazy. Mark, you said you'd only belong to me in this life. Why break that promise now? Is she losing her mind? I pushed her away. Lillian, when we got married, I'm sure you vowed to love me forever too. You broke that promise, so why should I keep mine? Lillian's hands dropped with a look of dejection. Watching my fading figure, memories rushed in. In the early days of her startup, I'd hand out flyers, beg customers, and pick her up late at night. Every scorching summer day and freezing winter night, I was the only one by her side. After Koko came along, worrying I'd get in the way of her work, I took Koko for checkups on my own. Unlike the pediatric ward we just passed, where many kids were with both parents. But I never complained. Somehow, all of it got forgotten once Daniel arrived in our lives. He sweet-talked her into thinking it was only once he got there that the company took off and he was the one destined to share in the success. She completely forgot that all great accomplishments require a foundation built from the ground up. Without my efforts, the company wouldn't have even reached the point where it had a chance to grow. Jasmine wasn't someone who'd ask me to pick her up just for being wasted. That night, she had met with a big client, an alum from University N, and wanted me to touch base. Seeing my nervousness, she encouraged me. Don't be scared, once you do it the first time, it'll be easier. Get ready to head back to N City tomorrow for another big deal. It's a great opportunity," she added with warmth. I appreciated it a lot. With my lackluster resume, there's no way I could have grown so quickly without Jasmine's help. She had her driver take me home before leaving slowly in her Maybach. Early in the morning, Lillian called while I was already at the airport. "Mark, your suitcase is missing. Where are you heading?" "For a business trip." "With Jasmine? You're married, you know? You're crazy. Doesn't your company send male employees on trips? Quit and come home. Your daughter needs you. You're lying." I called her first thing and she said she felt better. "Mom's not even at the hospital. You have someone else to keep you company. I've got work to do. Seems fair to me." "Just stop. What about Daniel? I don't want to talk to someone who's clueless." I hung up abruptly and prepared to board. Lillian gives me a damn familiar vibe. At first, her and Daniel weren't that close. But I was hell-bent on thinking the new overseas-educated male employee was trouble and wanted him out of the company. Daniel, always trying to justify himself, said he didn't mind being misunderstood as long as the company was okay. I gotta admit, Daniel was impressive back then. He was charming, sweet-talking, and much more appealing than my grumpy husband at home. Lillian and he eventually ended up in bed after some chats. When I called to check in, all I got was impatient excuses. Lillian never thought that one day I'd stop fussing over her being at Daniel's place. I even let other men enter our lives. Lillian was frustrated by my possessiveness. Arriving at the hotel, it wasn't just me and Jasmine. A core team was with us. We discussed passionately like those college debate days. 10 years later, Jasmine was wearing a perfectly tailored suit, tall, poised, and graceful. I couldn't help but compliment her. "You haven't lost your charm, still smart and beautiful. I bet you captivate everyone." She smiled, "And you, just as sunny as before. Quite the change from last year." I caught a fleeting hint. "Where?" "Back then, your dad had just passed. It's good we're past it now." I felt a moment of darkness but quickly regained clarity. This time, I've pieced together my past from clues around me. An anxious stay-at-home dad, frantically checking in, tangled with a cheating wife, out of touch with society. Each label screamed despair. But post-amnesia, I didn't battle demons. Cutting losses found me new horizons, rediscovering the hopeful me. Jasmine snapped a picture of me, brimming with confidence. "Let everyone see the shining new you." Many said I looked handsome and confident now. But Lillian became more nagging. She called several times asking when I'd be back. Said with seasonal change, Koko got sick twice and visited the hospital thrice. I decided to only call my daughter. Coughing, her soft voice said, "That mean uncle is annoying. He said I faked being sick, blaming you, Dad." But Mom doesn't seem to believe that anymore, and they argued. Did I do something wrong? Of course not. Tell someone if you're sick, don't keep it in. I could guess what was happening. Koko's always been weak, a frequent patient. But before, Lillian rarely took care of her. When not home, she'd believe Daniel's suggestions that I purposely made Koko sick to make Lillian come home. Caring for her herself, Lillian found it wasn't just about money with a weak kid. You certainly can't just leave it all to a nanny. Koko told me not to rush back. "I miss you, Dad, but I love it more when you're like a happy little son." What a sweet daughter. Just like I love my dad, she deeply loves me too. The day the deal closed, Jasmine and I walked out of the hotel near my alma mater, smiling. Unexpectedly bumped into someone. Lillian's dark eyes locked on mine. Her aura was intense. First thought, a crazy woman about to attack. Ready to ignore, I heard her slightly hoarse voice. "Why didn't you pick up my calls? Who has the time to listen to the ex-wife pressuring me to be a stay-at-home dad in between working hard?" She disregarded my silence. With an appreciative look, checked me out. Jasmine's stylist dressed me in an Armani suit. I looked sharp, far from the shabby stay-at-home dad in oversized home clothes, busy with cooking, childcare, and hospital trips. Jasmine casually asked, "Mark, wanna join the celebration party tonight? Lillian cut in, Koko's here. The nanny took her to buy your favorite dumplings near school." She said she'd never been to your college and wanted to visit. What's with that move? I'm at a loss. Jasmine was unbothered. No problem. Deal sealed. Feel free to leave separately, the tickets on the company. Lillian's competitive side flared. No need. We'll fly back first class. After colleagues dispersed, I questioned. Lillian, we're getting divorced. What's with this? I thought you came alone with her. Not answering my calls hurts. I chased her before and she didn't care. Now that I'm no longer circling around, she's following me. Koko was holding my hand, hopping along the college path. I got inspired and showed her where I won races and where I was late for class. Koko gleefully frolicked on the yellowing grass. Her sweet smile resembled my younger self. By dusk, Lillian trailed behind. Her face pained. I'm sorry. Just remembered, we once said we'd return here with our kid. It's nice we did. In many mornings here, you brought breakfast from my college to the neighboring one for me. Daring middleman for my first entrepreneurial attempt, you faced rejection selling product in boys' dorms. When funds were low, knowing I spent on ramen to get you a bunny cake moved you to tears. Lillian dreamt of on-campus entrepreneurship. I often used my allowance to support her. For my birthday, she did 2 days of hard labor last minute to afford a surprise. Got injured moving furniture. Watching my girlfriend hobble toward me, cake in hand, I broke down into tears. Lillian, why are you so silly? I've had cake before. It's different. You only turned 20 once. I wanted to get you the sweetest thing in the world. But later, she forgot even my birthday. Luckily, I forgot everything, whether it was happiness or hurt. Lillian, however, got stuck with the memories. The more she talked, the more guilty she became. Her face suddenly looked like she owed me a fortune. I just showed indifference, maybe even a touch of coldness. If we walked all this way together and you still betrayed me, then you deserve to be forgotten. Lillian was stunned. Her apologies were hitting a wall, not making a dent. She had nothing left to say. In the quiet campus, her phone rang. She ignored it. The caller persisted. She declined a few times but finally answered. Daniel's voice shrieked out, audible even without speaker. Lillian, why are you avoiding me? Didn't you promise you'd divorce that guy and meet my parents? I told you he'd be manipulative, pretending his daughter's sick or that memory loss thing, betting you'd go soft. The call ended. Lillian suddenly clutched my arm. Mark, for Koko's sake, can you give me another chance? I shifted my daughter asleep on my shoulder, taking 2 steps back. Lillian, I forgot, but I'm not stupid. You and Daniel are already at the meet the parents stage. I don't want a woman who's been sullied. She looked pained. I won't go with him. I've remembered a lot since your amnesia. You did so much for me and our daughter. I don't believe you can leave us. Are you crazy? Get your head checked. I quickly left with Koko in my arms. She stood dazed, watching us go, her eyes reddening. The leaves were falling, like replaying our youthful days, eating, shopping, catching a movie, making sweet memories. We once promised to spend a lifetime together, imagining concert nights together when old. But in the end, Lillian found someone new, and I lost my memory. Returning to the same places, I see only familiar scenery, no longer anyone dwelling there for someone else. Lillian is a whole new person. She suddenly spent more time at home, doing crafts with Koko, clumsily making my favorite braised ribs. I was the one working late and attending social events now. Daniel found a way to contact me. He kept provoking me. Spent my birthday with him watching fireworks instead of with me. Bought him the latest designer watch for a parent-child event. Mark, stop pretending. You're just using Lillian's sympathy to hold on to her. Didn't you know how gentle and tender she is in bed with me? Doesn't this guy realize my memory only covers simpler college days? I sent Lillian screenshots. Control your lover. Hurry up with the divorce. If he keeps being the secret third wheel, he might explode. Lillian's expression changed. I'll handle it. Who knows how she spoke to Daniel? But he cornered me at Jasmine's company demanding answers. Mark, what did you say to Lillian? Why is she suddenly bringing up old stuff? I've been overlooked for so long. Now that the company's going public, it wouldn't have happened if I didn't do my part. letting you play house husband in peace. I was speechless. Daniel, losing control, smashed a glass bottle and forcefully shoved me. My hand was deeply cut, blood staining the ground. Lillian arrived as Jasmine called the cops, personally tending my wound. Daniel collapsed into Lillian's embrace, crying desperately, "Don't leave me." Without Mark complicating things, you wouldn't dare ask for everything you spent on me back. Lillian pushed him away, voice icy. "It's not Mark. You were greedy, your hand is in the company funds." His answer was a hysterical cry. So what if I fell for a married woman I deserved being blamed? But if I hadn't secured that order, the company wouldn't have rebounded, let alone go public. Jasmine's actions paused. Lillian's gaze grew complex. "Daniel, are you still lying?" I checked. The one who threw us the lifeline admitted it was because of Mark. Daniel had taken credit. He left his job and got close to the CEO. Lillian looked scornful. "Daniel, you faked your credentials. What else can you do but lie?" His face flushed, lips quivering. "You pampered your husband back then, constantly jealous for him, worrying about family even during near bankruptcy. I want a good wife. What's wrong with that?" I'm stunned by his twisted logic. I aimed a solid kick at him, not concerned about the aftermath. Daniel toppled over, his face scraping against broken glass, leaving a long scar. Enraged, he tried to charge at me, but Jasmine and Lillian stood between us. While giving statements, the camera was a blind spot, no one else to blame. Daniel had plotted from the start, picking a secluded corner to attack. Lillian and Jasmine testified, saying he struck first, and I just defended myself. Daniel couldn't believe it. "Lillian, you're accusing me falsely over this freeloader?" Lillian's voice turned colder. "Don't think I don't know. You bribed the babysitter to lace the pastries with peanut butter to force me to give up custody of Koko. If I hadn't been home more often lately, she could have almost died because of you. How dare you try to harm my daughter? You're heartless." I lost it and slapped him across the face at the police station. Daniel acted insanely. She always competed for attention, pretending to be sick so her mom would come back home. Men's jealousy is terrifying. Regardless of age, they hit just as hard. Koko wasn't hurt, so Daniel didn't go to jail. But his smugness didn't last long. Lillian fired Daniel for faking his degree and tried to win me back by reclaiming all the money she spent on him. Corner a dog and it bites back. Daniel drank heavily and tried to crash his car into me and Koko. Lillian, probably feeling guilty, pushed us out of the way and got hit by the car. The air went dead silent for a moment. Daniel pounded the steering wheel and yelled, "Lillian, why save them? They're not worth it. Mark, Lillian never loved you. The day your dad died, she was with me skiing in Switzerland. If you get back together with her, your dad would look down on you from the grave." Lillian turned deathly pale, laying in a pool of blood. "I'm just like that. If I can't have someone, no one else can. Obsessive love is terrifying." Lillian survived, but at the cost of losing a leg. When signing the divorce papers, she said bitterly, "I thought maybe you forgot about Dad and we could start over. But now that you know the truth, you'll never forgive me." Indeed, I didn't regain my memory. But the way I loved my dad, I could never forgive my wife for fluttering with another man when he was dying. That wasn't just a betrayal to me, cut deep into my dad's heart. When Dad was about to pass away, he wanted to leave me in Lillian's care, but she didn't even pick up the phone. His unsaid last words became his final regret. "I'm taking custody of Koko and more shares." Lillian agreed, saying she owed it to me. "I'm sorry. The ups and downs of life can make someone truly admit their mistakes. Mark, I hurt you in the past. I hope you don't hold it against me." I felt no waves inside. "I don't hate you or remember anything with you." Lillian's face turned ashen. "Mark, how can you not remember?" It meant our shared memories were only preserved by her. Lillian grew more despondent. Business went bad, and her health deteriorated. I left without hesitation. The cashed-in money was enough for Koko and me to live comfortably for 2 lifetimes. Later, I heard Lillian had Daniel tortured in jail. Without him, she could have had a complete family and a bright future. But you can't undo betrayal. There's no turning back. Not regaining memories wasn't bad for me. I lived as if I'd never been hurt, embracing life, chasing dreams anew. Koko said, I love the dad now, always smiling and happy, like a warm little lamp on the nightstand. I got promoted and a raise. At the company gala, Jasmine proudly introduced me to the CEO of our group. Who knew that he'd immediately smile upon seeing me? Isn't this the guy you asked me to help back then? Turns out, Jasmine was the one who helped Lillian's company back then. In the banquet hall, music flowed. I twirled my wine glass. Jasmine, why didn't you take credit for your good deed? She pondered for a moment, clinking glasses with me. I went abroad on an exchange, not staying for my first love. I got seriously injured while skiing, healed abroad for a long time, and went on to graduate school there. When I came back, you were someone else's husband, so I let go. But when Lillian's company faced a crisis, I saw you swallowing your pride, holding your child and asking for help. I couldn't stand by. At the time, Jasmine knew Lillian was jealous. To keep peace between us, she asked Richard to help. Richard was often abroad, leaving Daniel with an opportunity. Snowflakes fell gently as Jasmine confessed to me. But I hesitated. You're so amazing, but I'm divorced with a kid. Her eyes reddened slightly. Mark, since I nearly died back then, I realized life is unpredictable. You have to cherish what's in front of you. Jasmine's slightly trembling voice, warm and raspy, drifted into my ears. We walked hand in hand in the snow. I heard a child reciting, snowfall heavy, the chill deeper. May you have clothes to wear in the cold, warmth in your heart. May you meet someone special, fill your life with joy, and enjoy a peaceful life together. The beautiful spring of tomorrow will surely arrive as expected, with all the warmth of the world.